We are in the middle of Torah Yud Gimel Likutey Moharan, Ot Bet. This Torah is called Ashrei Hashgacha. And so Rabbi Nachman is telling us here about the ability of the tzaddik. There's a certain tzaddik. This tzaddik is the aspect of Moshe Mashiach, Moshe, which is synonymous with Mashiach, and he brings dat. He draws the light of the dat, which is what builds the Bet HaMikdash. The Bet HaMikdash is built by this dat. And this dat is drawn from the Chesed, which is the generous spirit. It's the spirit of tzedakah, and that cools off and eliminates the fire of Gehenna, which is the fire, the burning lust and anger of the heart, when it is not rectified, when it is lacking dat. And so this chesed heals the heart, cools off, extinguishes that fire, extinguishes the fire, and builds the Bet HaMikdash with the dat. And so this tzaddik, the Moshe Mashiach, is the one who brings this dat. So says Rabbi Nachman, the second couple lines into Ot Bet. Let me start Ot Bet again. וזה בחינות התגלות התורה של העתיד לבוא, כמובן בזוהר של העתיד יתגלה אורייתא דעתיקה סתימה, כעיקר קבלת התורה על ידי השכל שום משה משיח, כמו שכתוב עיר גיבורים מהלך חכם. So this is the Torah that is going to be revealed when Mashiach comes. That's the Torah that builds the Bet HaMikdash, specifically and especially. That's the ultimate Torah of dat. And that's drawn from the Keter. All Torah is dat, but that is the concentration, the soul of the Torah. And that's drawn from the Keter, and that's drawn from the Keter. The Keter is called Atika Stima, which is the ancient hidden one. And this Kabbalah Torah is the seichel, it's the intellect of a person, it's the dat, and it's drawn from Moshe Mashiach. ומי שיש לו בחינת משה משיח יוכל לקבל תורה ויכול להמשיך הערת התורה ללמד שאר בני אדם. כי התגלות התורה באה מייחודה דקודשא בריך הוא שכינתה. כמו שכתוב שמע בני מוסר אביך, אביך דקודשא בריך הוא ואימך דא כנסת ישראל. וייחודם על ידי העלאת נפשות ישראל מבחינת מים וגבין, והחכם יכול לקח הנפשות ולהעלותם מבחינת מים וגבין, מבחינת לוקח נפשות חכם, ועל ידי הייחוד הזה נולד התורה. וכשעולה החכם עם הנפשות מבחינת גיבורים על החכם, על ידי זה ויורד עוז מבטאך. Okay, so Rabbi Nachman says that Moshe Mashiach receives this Torah. He draws this new understanding in Torah, which is the dat, which builds the Bet HaMikdash. And how does he draw it? How does he bring it and teach it to others and spread the Torah? By causing a yuchud, by causing unification above between Kudsha Brichu and Shchinte, between the Tiferet and Malchut, which is called our father and our mother. Kudsha Brichu is our father and Malchut is our mother, as the Arizal, as the Zohar teaches us. The Zohar teaches us that our neshamot are children of Zun. Children of Zun is a Rashi Tevot for Zer Anpin Venugbe, which means Kudsha Brichu and Shchinte, which is the Tiferet and the Malchut, and they are considered our parents because the souls of Am Yisrael, our souls are created, and our souls, just like our physical body is created by our parents. The souls, our neshamot, are created by the unification of the world called Ze'er Anpin and the world called Nukbe, which is two levels of revelation of the Ribbon Hashem, two levels of how Hashem is revealed to us and how Hashem's light is experienced by us in this world. Zer Anpin and Nukbe, Kudsha Brichu and Shchinte. And the unification of the two is what creates our souls. So we are considered the children of Zer Anpin and Nukbe, the children of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the Shechina. And so when it says in the Pasuk in Shlomo HaMelech says in Mishlei, Shma beni musar avicha v'atitosh Torah timecha. Hear, my son, the Musar of your father and do not abandon the Torah of your mother, it's because the Torah that a person receives comes from both of them, from your father, Kuchabichu, and your mother, Shchinte. And from the unification of the two, we receive this Dat, which is the Torah that Mashiach brings to us, that Mashiach gives to us by causing this unification. But how does he cause this unification? How does he unify the Kuchabichu Shchinte? Big rule in Kabbalah is for unification to take place. You have to first bring up, you have to combine the female waters and the male waters. The female water is called Mai Nukbin, and the male water is called Mai Dechurin. The female water is called Mai Nukbin is an aspect of cheshek. It's an aspect of desire and wishing for, wanting, aligning. When the one that is coming to receive aligns himself with the one that is going to give, just like a poor person needs to put out his hand in showing his intention to receive from the wealthy person that's going to put the bread or the money in his hand. So the showing the intention, wanting to receive, and aligning oneself to receive, that's the aspect of the female waters. That's the aspect of Mayin Nukbi. And the Mayin Dechurin is that when the Mashpia, when the one that is going to give, sees that from the one that is receiving, so he outstretches his hand and he gives. And he is Mashpia. Okay, so that's the Mayin Dechurin, that's the male waters. And so you need the combination of these two in order for there to be a unification. That's what the unification is all about between them. And and then from the elevating the female waters, that's how the male waters come. And the unification is all about sweetening the judgment. It's all about bringing light to a place of concealment, bringing the light of Hashem to a place of concealment. And that's in essence sweetening of the judgment. That's what all zivugim, all yichudim in Kabbalah are an aspect of sweetening judgment, bringing light to a place of concealment, drawing Hashem's life energy to a place where it was lacking, where it was not experienced fully. And that's what's happening here. The tzaddik, the Moshe Mashiach, elevates the nefashot of Yisrael. Okay, those people that are coming to hear Torah from the Talmid Chacham, from the Tzaddik, he gathers their nefashot, their souls, their desire, that energy of wanting. He gathers all of that and he elevates it as a Mayin Nukvi. He elevates all of that wanting to receive from everyone that he gathered, all of those sparks of desire. He gathered them and he elevates it as a Mayin Nukbin, and then he's able to draw from that what is received, the Mayin Dechurin, and that's the Torah that he draws and he gives it over to the Yidden, to the Neshamot that came to hear Torah. Okay, so it says Rabbi Nachman, these are two levels. He says first, Lokeach Nefashot Chacham. First, the Chacham, he takes the souls. What does it mean he takes the souls? He gathers these sparks of desire that are found in all of the souls and he elevates it. And that causes the Yichud. The Yichud brings this Shefa, this energy, this Torah, and the Torah gives it back down and spreads it out and teaches it to all of the Yidden, to all of these holy souls. V'nefesh, says Rabbi Nachman, zeh bechinat ratzon. So Rabbi Nachman is going to explain in greater detail how the tzaddik does this. V'nefesh zeh bechinat ratzon. So when we said that the tzaddik gathers the nefashot, the souls of these yidden that came to hear Torah, he didn't just say he gathers their neshamot, which is the word that we usually use for the soul. He says he gathers their nefesh. And the reason why Rabbi Nachman used that word is, and that's what he's going to explain now, is because the nefesh is the part of the soul that wants, that desires greater experience of life. deeper experience of life. The nefesh also Kabbalistically represents the female aspect of the soul. It represents the part of the soul that is corresponding to the malchut. Okay, and we said this yesterday. We said how the 5 parts of the soul, the lowest part, the nefesh, corresponds to the last hay of the Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is the malchut. And so the malchut is the aspect of desiring to experience greater and deeper life. Okay, that's why we are here in this world. The life energy among us that gives us life, the presence of Hashem within us, and that includes within it the purpose for creation, is called Shechina. And Shechina is Malchut. And our purpose for creation is to draw the light of Hashem into this physical world, into our physical experience, so that it may be elevated to an experience of the divine beyond what is now experienced in this place of concealment. Beyond, so that it is elevated, so that this world is elevated to the state of Olam Haba, where Hashem's light is experienced fully and completely. So that's what Malchut is all about. And that's what the nefesh in our soul, specifically the nefesh in our soul, represents. The nefesh is the ratzon. And so whenever a person has a desire, a lust, even if it's a disconnected lust, there is what is going on there is that there is a spark of Malchut within that is disconnected, that is lost, that is seeking to be reconnected with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And so the tzaddik has to clean that and purify that, heal that, and use that as the Mayin Nukbin to bring Torah down. We're going to see more about that. So it says Rabbi Nachman, nefesh zeh b'chinat ratzon. The nefesh is the aspect of the ratzon, which is desire. Shekol elo b'nei adam ha'ba'im lechacham ado, kol echad v'echad yesh lo ezehu ratzon. והצדיק לוקח כל הרצונות ועולה עמהם. ואחר כך, והיורד עוז מבטך, בבחינת והחיות רצו בשוב. רצו בעליות הנפשות, בשוב בחזרת הנפשות עם התגלות התורה. So everyone that comes to hear Torah from the tzaddik, there is something on the lowest level that they are seeking, that they are wanting, that they are desiring in their life, some sort of desire that they have, that they want something to be fixed, some situation to be handled and worked out, some deficiency to be fulfilled. And each one, every person in their personal experience that they have, they come to the tzaddik to hear Torah, and that Torah is, the intention is to heal that lack, to fix that void that they are experiencing. And so these are the nefashot. These are the nefashot, the desires in each one of the people coming to hear Torah from the tzaddik. And the tzaddik gathers all of it. Okay, the tzaddik sitting there before he gives Torah, and by the big Rebbes, by the big tzaddikim, they don't just prepare a shir and then come into the shir and then just give Torah that they prepared earlier. The big tzaddikim, they would give Torah based on the desires, the nefashot of all the people that gathered to hear the shir. So it's completely on the spot. Okay, so they would sit down, they would connect to all the souls, all of the neshamot of the people sitting with him, wanting to hear Torah, that came to hear Torah, and they would gather the ritzonot, they would gather the desires, the feeling of lack, and each one of them has that energy of wanting to have certain situations fulfilled physically and spiritually. And the solution for all of that lack is Torah. And they would gather that desire, that nefesh from each one of the people surrounding him. And with prayer, there's a whole Torah about this later on, Likutei Moharan. With prayer, they would pour their heart out to Hashem, right then and right there, and to a point where the divine heart, the heavenly heart, is melting. It melts. It melts from the outpouring of the heart of this tzaddik. And then that heart is called the tzur. Tzur levavi, Rabbi Nachman says. And that heart is the sela that Moshe Rabbeinu brought the water out of. The sela, the be'er of Miriam, the wellspring of Miriam is drawn from this heart, this heavenly heart, which is this rock, but it's softened and sweetened by all of this prayer, and it melts and opens up and gives out the outpouring, the wellsprings of water of Miriam is really the chidushim of the Torah. And then the tzaddik brings all of this Torah down, and that Torah, it quenches the thirst of all the people gathered in front of him. And what does that mean? It quenches their thirst. That desire that they have is now healed, it's now rectified, it's now fulfilled, and the void is filled up. Okay, so there's a whole Torah about that later on in Likutei Moharan, and so this is similar here with this idea that Rabbi Nachman is saying. Rabbi Nachman here is saying, "V'achayot ratzov v'shov," very famous pasuk from Yecheskel about certain angels, certain malachim that are called chayot, and they would run and they would return. And the Baal Shem Tov teaches us that this ratzov v'shov, this running and returning, is all of chiyut, all of energy of life. Chiyut is the energy of life. It always has an ebb and a flow. It has an up and a down. It has a strengthening and a weakening, a going and a returning. And that, Rabbi Nachman says, is the two aspects that we see in Kabbalah of the female waters and the male waters. The female waters is the going up. I am feeling lack. I'm feeling nothing. I'm feeling concealment. It's the challenges we go through in life. And those challenges that we go through in life is to awaken those female waters. And that's the Ratzo, Baliyata Nefashot. And then there's an echo that comes back to us. There is the answer from above of all the Shefa, the answer to our prayers, and that's Vashov. That's the returning of the Chiyut. It comes back to us. So these are the two aspects also here. And with the tzaddik, when the Moshe Mashiach gives Torah, he elevates all of these ritzonot, all of these desires from all of these people. That's ratzo, the going up, the running, going up, elevating all of that desire, all of the wanting, all of the feeling of lack that everyone has. And then through that, he draws this Torah down and teaches it to everyone. Spreads the new wellspring of Torah, the new outpouring of the Be'er of Miriam, the new outpouring of Torah that he has brought down, that has been born through this unification right now. And Rabbi Nachman, in a couple places later on in the Likutei Moharan, we'll see, Rabbi Nachman says that's the great benefit and significance of hearing Torah live by a tzaddik, rather than just learning it later on in a sefer, or hearing it maybe afterwards in a recorded shiur. They didn't have that back then, but rather than reading it afterwards in a sefer. Why? So Rabbi Nachman says that the benefit and the significance of that is, and it applies specifically to a certain type of tzaddik, the type of tzaddik that doesn't just prepare a shiur and then afterwards, after he prepares the shiur, goes ahead and gives it. We're speaking about a tzaddik that he gives Torah on the spot without any preparation, based on the energy in the room, based on the energy of the people in front of him, from that connection, right? So Rabbi Nachman said the benefit of that over afterwards, just learning it in the sefer, is that you, by being there present at the shiur, by hearing Torah, you have part in that Torah that is being drawn down. Because the tzaddik took your nefesh, with all the other nefashot there, and used that female waters, that desire, to cause the unification that gave birth to this Torah that you have now received. So you have part in that Torah that is drawn down. So there's a tremendous benefit, Rabbi Nachman says, about that specifically. So continues Rabbi Nachman, v'zeh shemuvan b'tikunei hazohar, ratzo da Nuriel, v'shov da metat tzar hapanim. The Zohar, the Tikunei Zohar, explains on this pasuk in Yecheskel about the Chayot running and returning. The Zohar explains that running, Ratzo, is the aspect of this Malach, this angel called Nuriel, Vashov, returning, is the aspect of the malach called matat. Matat is short for a longer name that we don't say, that we spoke about in the previous Torah. We only say the first half of his name. Da metat, metat sarapanim. That's the matat, the minister of the light of the face. Okay, that's the translation of sarapanim. And so Ratzol, the running, is this angel called Nuriel, and returning is the angel called Metat. What does that mean? Explains Rabbi Nachman. Nuriel da nur daluk b'chamimut tavat mamon v'shov da metat sarapanim deiu rashim b'shem Moshe deiu Mashiach shehu ruach apenu she'al yado nishtakech hachamimut. וזה שכחה שגימטריה משה, שהוא משכך אלילי כסף וזהב, רצו דה רצון שהוא הנפש, ושוב דה משה שמקבל התורה. How beautiful and how sweet. Rabbi Nachman explains, there's another Zohar that explains to us the essence, what is the meaning of this angel called Nuriel. The name Nuriel, the Zohar says about that name, it represents a burning fire. Nuriel. Nuriel, nur in Aramaic means a fire, similar to the ner in Hebrew. Da nur daluk, this is the burning fire, the burning flame. So says Rabbi Nachman, Nuriel, which is the running, which we spoke about, is the passion, the desire, the feeling of lack, okay, the nefesh, the female waters. Rabbi Nachman says that begins, that's all included into the lust, it's all included in the lust for money. It's the heart that is feeling lack, and it needs to be healed. You need to draw the generous spirit, the spirit of emunah, the spirit of tzedakah, the Moshe Rabbeinu spirit, the dat, in order to heal that, to extinguish that fire, and to fill up that void. So Nuriel, the Malach of Nuriel, is that burning heart. It's all of the lusts that we have. The tzaddik takes all of that, all the desires that we have, it's all included in the lust for money, and all of that desire and all that wanting, feeling of lack, feeling of that we lack life, we want more life. The tzaddik gathers all of those sparks and he elevates them. What does that mean, he elevates them? What does it mean, he brings them up as female waters? It means that at the core, every desire that we have, every lust that we have, is really a crying out for more of Hashem, crying out for more life. Why does a person want more money? Why does a person want health? Why does a person want children? Why does a person want even honor? Even things that seem very selfish. At the core, the experience of having those things is an experience of more life. The problem is that the Yetzer Hara disconnects it from Hashem, and a person thinks that life, that feeling that we will get from having these things fulfilled, is something separate from Hashem. That's the illusion of the Yetzer Hara. That's the mistake of the Yetzer Hara. The tzaddik purifies that. He removes all of that illusion. He takes the energy of desire, that wanting, it's pure at its core, and that pure desire, he gathers those sparks of Malchut, which at the core, they're pure, the sparks of the holy Malchut, but they were lost in exile by all these experiences of adversity, of lacking, of concealment, of deficiency that everyone has in their personal life. And the tzaddik takes these sparks, gathers them, these sparks of Malchut, and elevates it as a wanting. We want more of Hashem. We want our king. We want that life, the Eitz HaChaim. Okay? And so that's the Nur Daluk. That's the fire, in Yiddish they say, the fiery, the bren, right? The burning fire that you have in the heart, the desire that you have in the heart, that's seeking, that wants that fulfillment, that wants to be cooled off, to be healed. Okay? And the tzaddik elevates that. And what does he bring back down? Vashov, the Zohar said, is the Malach Matat. Matat Sarapanim is his name. Says Rabbi Nachman, Matat Sar Hapanim is the Rashi Tevot Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu. So Matat Sar Hapanim is the aspect of Moshe. In the Zohar, it teaches us that Moshe Rabbeinu's Rebbe, who taught him Torah, was Matat Sar Hapanim. And so Matat Sar Hapanim is Rashi Tevot Moshe. It's the aspect of Moshe. It's the aspect of what he brings down. The tzaddik brings down the Moshe, the Dat, the Torah. Okay? And that's the aspect, that's what Mashiach does. Mashiach brings down this Dat. And this Dat that Mashiach brings is the Ruach HaPeinu. It's the Ruach of Tzedakah, the Ruach of Emunah, the spirit, the generous spirit that comes and it soothes and extinguishes that burning of the heart. And it fulfills all of those desires and fills up all of that void. And like that, all of the burning desire is allayed. And that's also why, like the pasuk says, "V'chamat hamelech shachacha," right? The pasuk in Megillat Esther, and the anger of the king was appeased, was allayed. Shachacha, that appeasement, the word for the appeasement of the anger, shachacha is gematria Moshe. It's the same numerical value as Moshe, because Moshe Rabbeinu comes and he allays and dissipates and dissolves the burning lust for the idols of gold and the idols of silver, which includes within that lust of money all of the desires, all of the tavot, all of the yitzhahara. And so ratzon, the running, is the aspect of the ratzon, and it sounds very similar, right? Ratzon is also running. Ratzon is running. When I have a wanting for something, when I'm desiring something, when I'm lusting something, it has an energy of running towards that thing. So it has in it, the word ratzon has the word ratz, which means to run toward. Shehu nefesh. This is the aspect of the nefesh. Vashov, the returning, da Moshe. That's the aspect of Moshe, that he receives this Torah that is born and now through that unification, and he spreads it out, gives it over, and that allays and dissipates and dissolves all of that, the burning desire of the heart, and it fulfills all of those desires, fills up that void, and that's the building of the Beit HaMikdash, that fulfillment, that everything is good, everything is perfect, already now and already here, because of this complete experience of Hashem, the source of life, the source and the essence of life. And that essence of life, there's nothing that can be wanted or desired more than that. That essence of life is more than anything you can ever desire, more than anything that you can ever want. That essence of life, everything is included in it, and it is greater than everything. And Bezrat Hashem will see the continuation of this in the next year.